Many reasons why I'm an atheist, but I'll start with the crudest explanation. I'm sure many of you have seen Clash of the Titans or The Immortals or 300, these blockbuster films about ancient Greek or Roman religion, which we now call mythology. But back then it wasn't mythology. It was very real for them. They genuinely believed that you had to put a coin in a person's mouth before they were buried so that they could pay for the literal ferry to the afterlife. Just as many people today believe that they should eat crackers and wine on a Sunday, or that God wants women to hide their bodies under black burqas. Every religion that has ever existed, and there are many, have all believed that they were right, that their rituals and rules and beliefs were 100% correct, and they all thought they nailed it. But where are they today? If they're not completely forgotten, they're on the silver screen, amusing us with their sword fights, animal sacrifices, and oracles. The religions of today are the entertainment of tomorrow.
Now, me personally, I had to give myself a category, be a hermetic alchemist. The closest thing that you may be able to understand that is agnostic when it comes to the belief of a God, of some God. There's not enough evidence for one. There's not enough evidence against there being one. There certainly is nowhere near enough evidence to prove any of the gods of these books. In the same way that there's not enough evidence to prove Zeus, Otamare, Quetzalcoatl, or any of these other guys, Brahma. You can't prove them. You can't prove Allah. You can't prove any of them. And yet, people believe them. In the same way that most of our ancestors believed in a different God at some point in time. Everybody's ancestor believed in a different God at some point in time. Archaeological evidence shows that at some point in time, the ancient people in the Levant believed in animalism, believed that animals have spirits, trees have spirit, the earth has spirit, you have spirit, believed that everything in existence had a spirit component to it, but they did not believe in some creator God. As we've seen from the indications of Tarankepe and Obekli Tepe, we see that animalism was more than likely the religion of the most ancient people that we actually have records of. Not the most ancient people we've discovered, but the most ancient people we have any type of records of. We've seen that in the Native Americans, when the Europeans came over here, that animalism was overwhelmingly the more primary religion of most people. Although there was those who were the Aztecs who had belief in Quetzalcoatl, a god, a deity, as well as the Incas who had a belief in a god, a deity. But for the majority of the indigenous people, there was no god or gods. Other nations around the world, or the people around the world, had gods and goddesses and so on and so forth. Those were later misinterpreted to be polytheistic, but mainly most of them were belief in one God with many different attributes. But what do we think of those? What do we think of those today? What do we think of all of their gods and what they believe? The sky people for the Hopi, the sky people for the Aboriginal people. We look at it as myth. And as hard as it may be for most of you Christians to believe, most of you Islamic Muslims to believe, and most of you Jews to believe, there will come a day that your belief will be considered myth. Now, me personally, I'm a Trekkie. I love the Trek. And when you watch the Trek, they display this behavior, this mindset, that this ancient time frame, our time frame now, that people believed in different gods and goddesses and all these different types of entities that dwell, in these spatial planes that we don't have an understanding of. And when they meet up with other people, some of those aliens also believe that they have a god that created their society, their race, their population, and that they will ascend or descend or transfigure into some type of heaven or hell type of space with them, whether we're talking about the Klingons, the Romulans, or any of them. I know that's Star Trek names, but whatever beings that there are out there, they more than likely have their own myths and their own beliefs in some type of deity. And a Christian would say that their deity is false. And you haven't even met them yet. But one day Christianity will go the way of the dodo. It will become extinct. And I can only hope and dream that I am still around when it's gone, because it has done more damage in this world today than any other religion has in any time or space that we know of. So you have a great day. And remember always, you got to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.